Good morning, everybody. A
Good morning, good
Wednesday
morning.
of meetings. I have always those Wednesdays. I have a back-to-back stand-up in another project, so it's always like on the minute to not start this late.
Yeah.
Uh, so we are still in the part of the course, the second part of the course. Next week we will start the transition for the final part of the course, that is the project part of the course. So the plan is that we should have a project to present next week, and also groups for
Yeah.
those projects. And we will probably set the groups. On campus, it will be quite easy because I think we can identify 3 campus students. So you know who you are, and you will probably end up in a group. But on distance, we will compose groups of 3 students in each group, and we will also present the assignment. But we will start by talking a bit, Niklas, I think, about the second assignment, because now we are starting to run into all kinds of problems here.
Yeah.
And that is probably because we are working with real stuff that
Yeah.
that just tend to have bugs when used together with other systems. That's like how life is,
Now we
unfortunately.
connect pieces that should fit together, but then they don't. Yeah.
So I have a list now, a bug list with stuff that could actually affect different parts of this assignment. And I spent more or less all day yesterday just not fixing, but identifying a bug in Redis when Redis is used together with Express. And
Yeah.
since the Taskit application is a Node Express application, when you use Redis together with Express, you will probably run into this bug as well. And it was Sophia who first mentioned this, and I tried to recreate it, and behold, I could. So I got exactly the same problem as Sophia got. And the problem is not that clear. At first, I didn't get any error messages. The routing just stopped working. Not giving any result back. And after a while, I somehow got an error message. And what do you do when you get an error message, Niklas? What's the
You
preferred
Google.
thing to do? Yeah. So I Googled, and sometimes you really need to Google. I mean, sometimes you when looking at an error message, you need to like identify what in the error message is something that is for your local
Unique for
system,
your.
or
Yeah.
or what is it that is more general in this case. So you
Yeah.
try to identify the general, maybe an error code, maybe a error message or something, and
Yeah. Some kind of keyword to like filter Google a bit.
Yeah. So when I think this was the error message, it's in Slack for those who you are interested, but it was something invalid argument type in a Redis file far down in the stack. And so adding Redis, adding Express and a node, and eventually I ended up in a Stack Overflow thread with someone saying that, oh, there is a bug in your Redis. Yeah. You need to run it in legacy mode. And then we tried that and it worked. So note, if you are using Redis, which probably all of you are doing, you probably need to run it in legacy mode.
Yeah. It's if you use a certain npm like client for Redis, or is it like Redis, all Redis clients?
Yeah, so what you do is you install an npm package for communicating with Redis, and then you have a package that connects a connection between Node Express sessions and Redis that handles storing sessions in Redis. And I think the bug is somewhere in between, because both packages are involved. But
sounds reasonable. Yeah.
Yep. However, what I want to say with this is that, I mean, we will run into problems starting now, because we are working with a lot of pieces, as you said, that we put together. And when we do that, we will run into bugs, and all of you will run into bugs in different. I mean, it should be this wonderful fluffy world where we are using Kubernetes and the architecture doesn't matter because we are all doing this virtualized. But that's not the case. So takes us to the next bug, or the next two bugs, I think.
Yeah.
So let's start like this, Niklas. Should we talk a bit about Helm first? Because I don't think we have mentioned Helm at all.
Yeah, Helm is pretty much NPM, I would say. Is that like a correct? Could we say that?
Yeah, it's a package manager for Kubernetes manifests, basically. That I mean, when we have started to write our own Kubernetes manifests, they tend to start to get quite long.
Yeah, they grow.
Yeah, they grow. And
yeah, should we? So what Helm does is it helps you like boilerplate things that would require you to write a lot of configuration, like boilerplate configuration. Like, let's say, for example, you have a database and you need like just volume, and you need a volume claim, and you need the credentials, and you need the list goes on. And what Helm does, it sets up all these things without you having to manually configure everything. It's like a piece of magic where someone else have done the hard work of configuring everything, and you just install their configuration, and you have the ability to override certain parts where you maybe don't like their configuration. So it's a really neat way of installing pre-made components into your Kubernetes cluster. But are there any problems with this, Johan?
Yeah, so start. I can just show. So when I ran, or when Sophia ran into this bug, I had to try it out. So then I have two options basically. So I want to run Redis in the cluster. I could do this just the same way that we have done with MongoDB, setting up the Mongo service and everything, and connecting this or adding it as a YAML file and applying it into the cluster and get my MongoDB instance up and running. I can do it the exactly same thing for Redis. However, I choose to instead install Redis using Helm. And if you just go by the default installation, which is a one-liner basically, then you will get kind of a lot of magic happen. Yeah. So if I would do a kubectl get services first of all, we will see that now we have a bit of RabbitMQ and stuff as well. But you can look here, you have a Redis headless, a Redis master, a Redis replicas. So first of all, the Helm script will set up 3 different services. And if I look at the pods, you will see that we have a Redis master, a Redis client. The Redis client was just to be able to troubleshoot. So that one isn't there from the beginning. Redis master, and we have 3 replicas of this Redis. And how does this work? Well, Redis master is a read-write instance. So this one will handle both reads and writes, but you can always read from the replicas. So now the database is replicated on different pods. And of course, you can do this manually. You can set this up, but it will require a lot of configuration to do this. However, in Helm, this is default, and you can just run it like this. And so I would actually recommend that I mean, we could differentiate between services that we write and services that we use. So Redis is a service that we just use. MongoDB is a service that we just use. RabbitMQ is a service that we just use. We can do some configuring because we can configure stuff using Helm as well. But those services are just there to help us. And then we need to write our own services like Taskit, notification service, and whatever. And those we could handle in Kubernetes manifests instead. So so that's basically why we want to use Helm, because it makes it so much easier.
But one thing I didn't like about this was suddenly we are installing a lot of stuff into our cluster, and it got like really hard to know. Then you have to document everything that you need to be able to run this thing. You need to install RabbitMQ with this specific name. You need to install Redis with this specific name for my other services to be able to know the configuration, connection strings and passwords and stuff like that. So that was one thing I really didn't like.
And we will probably end up with Snowflake clusters instead of
Snowflake clusters.
servers.
But
like
I tried to solve this because
Yeah.
I didn't really like this. We tried to solve this with Scaffold, and then we ran into another bug.
Yeah. So Niklas, should you share your screen? We can just,
Yeah.
because it's pretty neat to just look at the scaffold file.
Yeah.
I will stop my sharing.
Yeah, I will share this screen. So this is actually our solution to the project you are working on, but you only get to see the scaffold file. So
That doesn't say that much.
Doesn't say much. But what I wanted to do is you could do like this. You in your deploy in the scaffold, you could say that Helm release, and then you could configure like the one-liners you talked about previously, just like in configuration. With my RabbitMQ is called Kaninen, and it's the remote chart RabbitMQ. You have to read about this to understand it, but you get the concept. This is
but basically a chart is a recipe in Helm. It's like a package in Helm.
Yeah, do this. Like a lot of configuration files mashed into one. But does this work? No, it doesn't.
Probably if you have a good computer, maybe
if
on
you
a Mac,
have like a Mac
work.
M1, maybe.
Yeah, it probably
we will come to that error next, maybe. Yeah. So this doesn't work on my computer. All the documentation says that this should work. When I run it, it does work, but I get an error. Yeah. So
and you followed that error deep.
I still follow that error deep. So I downloaded the source code of Helm to track this error. And so now I have to learn the programming language Go first. But I think it's a Windows error actually.
Something to do with backslashes or something like classic
no,
like
no,
that.
no, no.
I think so.
So I'm actually searching for this error and see if I can fix it. It's somewhere here, I think. We'll see if I can fix this for Helm or if it's just my Snowflake computer that's acting up. But these kind of things are really hard to find. I spent days searching for this, like tracing what actually happens when I write the command in Scaffold. And I realized, okay, it does this Helm command. And then I found some indications that other have this bug, but not really the same. And I was really, why do only I have this bug? This is a huge issue, I thought. And then I ended up forking the Helm repository and installing Go and learning how to debug Go code. So now I'm searching for the error, see if it's a Snowflake issue on my computer or not. But
and maybe really this would actually work in CS Cloud. If we were to deploy this in the cluster, it would probably work, but it would not work locally.
The sad part is it would probably work on your computer.
So I'll have to try that. So this just shows that, I mean, in theory, this is really nice. However, it's hard. But I mean, this is a pretty neat way. And then we could even, if we like, we could probably move MongoDB down to a Helm release as well. And then you would probably get replication automatically, for instance. That would be nice. Of course, I will vouch for chapter 4 in the course literature, because you will read about the replication patterns there, if you like. So that is the bug you are sitting on Windows right now. And I would like that Mac is the perfect solution for everything, as you know. However, when I tried to install RabbitMQ on my computer using Helm,
using this,
basically using that, then I ran into a problem. So that is bug number 3. So what is bug number 3? Well, the Helm charts that are and the images that the Helm charts are using is from Bitnami often. I think that Bitnami is kind of like standard.
Bitnami is, they make best practice charts of like RabbitMQ. There are a certain way you should configure this, like and Redis, you mean with your replicas and stuff. They make best practice charts of how things should be installed.
Yeah. And that is why we linked to Bitnami Helm installation for RabbitMQ. So I tried it, failed miserably. It just didn't work at all. So after troubleshooting a lot and reading, and then, well, the simple solution is that Bitnami's images are not built for ARM processors. So if you are on a Mac M1 or M2, sorry. And this is it's just documented that people are angry. Bitnami just doesn't do anything about it. So you can't use this if you're trying to use this on your local Mac. Of course, it works in CS Cloud since it's not the ARM architecture, but not locally. So that is just sad. So if I want to develop locally, I just need to do this another way. And I haven't been able to find a solution. I had to focus on the other problem, but I mean, yeah, it's just sad. We will never get to utopia where we can just like have the same setup locally as in production. But that was actually the goal. So free bugs, just bear in mind, this was the free bugs that we found since yesterday. So I will not be surprised if you are sitting on a obscure Linux system, or if you are on an old version of Windows, or if you are on, I don't know, you might find your own bugs. And I mean, Niklas, the way that we worked yesterday, you sitting debugging this, me sitting like just finding error, writing like, I think I wrote like 20 lines of code yesterday.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, that was, I wrote a whole file for the Redis configuration. But other than that, it was just like finding configuration errors and trying to read and understand what is going on. But I mean, that is the life of a developer.
Yeah, with you say that you maybe 10% of your time you actually write code. The other time you're stuck thinking about a solution, or doing other stuff and just being stuck on some dumb error or something you don't understand.
Yeah.
So it's perfectly normal. It's nothing like, this isn't extraordinary buggy. It's just, this is the way it is.
Yeah. And Niklas, if I come to you and say, "Oh, I've been sitting all day with this error," I can't.
Yeah,
I mean,
not very
I've
impressed.
done everything. Not very impressed.
Yeah, only a day. Like,
exactly.
come back in a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and I mean, you it's really good that you ask us questions, but I just want to make clear that so I have the first course in the program right now, the 1DV025, and you as well, Niklas, and we have a tutoring session here at 10, and the questions in that course, it's like you can look at it and then you can maybe you should like look at the character you wrote there. Is that the correct character? That's like the level of you can find a bug in 10 seconds basically.
Yeah, everything glows red, like it's probably there.
But in this course, when you like the error we received yesterday, when that takes a lot of time to debug and to fix and to find errors like that. So just bear with us. It's don't just ask the question and stop working on the problem. Just like, okay, I'm having this problem, and continue just to try and find like pieces of the puzzle to solve the problem.
Understand what's going on underneath is very important. Like if you use Scaffold, you should know that the Scaffold uses Helm, and then you can probably go to Helm's GitHub and look at their issues and see if someone else have a similar issue to this, and you can go from there and see how they solved it. If it's like, okay, it's an actual bug in the system, and maybe there's a way like, okay, you can use this instead. So not just like sit back and say, oh, doesn't work, can't do it. It's you have to like proceed somehow.
Great. So that was the Helm and the debugging part of this stand-up. We could talk about something positive instead. Diego, have you tried using CS Cloud like this or the last week? Have you done anything with CS Cloud and tried to work with it? I can't hear you.
Oh.
No, the mic is dead. The mic is dead. Yeah. Strange, because we heard you before. But no, still dead. Strange. Yeah, well, I will answer for you then. That was a rhetorical question.
Very
But,
leading question.
yeah, Niklas, you have worked quite a lot with CS Cloud the last week now, since
Yep.
you're generating machines for other courses. How is the experience?
Speedy compared
Yeah.
to the previous
Shoo-hoo.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the old,
So what did we actually do?
Stefan has done a lot of like minor upgrades on CS Cloud, changing networks and doing stuff like that. And just magically, when we try it now, we get no errors, nothing like
No.
like sometimes when you started an instance, that instance could get
Hung
stuck
forever.
in
Yeah.
in just trying to provision and stuff like that. Now everything just works. So it's a pleasure to work against CS Cloud now,
Yeah,
compared to
agreed.
the last 3
Yeah.
years or something like that. But
I have changed microphone.
now it works.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. In these days, I'm using it in the usual way of the first weeks, because there was a deadline for the retake, the second chance. So we got some submissions, some new submissions, and some submissions that were fixing previous problems. So yeah.
Have you noticed a difference?
From last
So,
week. So I don't know if
the
you
creation of machines was not stuck. Yeah, but I'm still going into problems that could be, they could be in the code, in their own code, not in CS Cloud.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's maybe we who has create hundreds of machines in like one batch that experience problems often.
Yeah, before you could like create 5 machines and then you got stuck.
5
and then
was
you
really
had
good.
To,
5 was very
5
good.
was a good run.
Yeah.
And then you had to delete the instance that got stuck, rerun the script, and then you get stuck again and again and again and again. So yeah, that's a positive. I would also like to inform everybody, I wrote about this in Slack last week, but from now on it's also mandatory to use a VPN for connecting to port 220 to port 22,
which is
on your CS Cloud machines. So the only ones that are open is 80 and 443. That is open
and
to
22
the
is SSH.
Yeah, exactly. So if you get a floating IP, then you will still not be able to connect on port 22 on that floating IP if you don't have the VPN up and running. For you in this course, I don't think you have noticed, maybe because to be able to work against CS Cloud, the API or the web interface, you need the VPN anyway. So, but now you also need it to connect to port 22. Not sure if,
The reason we did this was because a bug in Docker, right? Well, previously.
Yeah, the reason it got postponed, because it was like last year we were supposed to activate this, because SUNET, the Swedish university network, they do a lot of scanning on machines, and then they find our Ubuntu 20 machines open with SSH, and then they report this to the IT department, and the IT department reports this back to us and says, oh, you have a lot of machines with Ubuntu 20 that is not secure, you are open for port 22. Yeah, so we got a lot of like problem with that. So that's why we need a VPN, but we couldn't activate the VPN. We tried because
for
some reason, some reason the university shows the same IP subnet for the VPN that Docker uses as default. So when you basically started a Docker machine that got a network, then all traffic to that machine was stuck and you couldn't get out of it unless you visited physically the campus and removed that Docker instance. So a lot of problems. But now they have changed IP range, so they should not conflict. Maybe if you create like 1,000 or more than 1,000 machines with Docker, then you might end up in that IP range, but it shouldn't be a practical problem, I think. Also something that took quite a long time to find that bug. Or it's not a bug, it's a feature maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just how it works, so it's not a bug. But okay. Now, well, you are... Hopefully everybody has started to work with assignment 2. The assignment has the deadline next Friday. I want to remind everybody that there is a report file as well, report.md, that you're supposed to fill in with questions. And the questions, to be able to answer those questions, you need to read in parallel in the book. But I think it should be pretty interesting actually to read the book, and because you will make a connection between the patterns used in the book and what you are actually doing in code and Kubernetes. So it shouldn't be that problematic, I think. Yeah, that's it.
We're waiting for great notifications in our channel. I want to see more notifications.
Yeah, someone was, who was the first one? Was it Leopold?
Leopold, I think.
Yeah. It's always legendary to have the first notification, because this channel will live on for
forever,
the rest of the course life, probably. So in 10 years' times, people will scroll to the top to find who was the first one. I must say, we had, let's see now. We have, I don't know if we have that assignment still in the first client course. We had an assignment where you were writing on we have the chat. In 025, everybody wrote a WebSocket chat. And that, all messages in that chat was saved. I think we have redesigned it now, so they are not saved. But before they were all saved. And the first student that sent the first message, he wrote like a Chuck Norris quote for the very first message. So I it was really nice to have something real instead of just test 2. But now I think Leopold did something.
Father's Day.
Yeah, that was actually good.
That was nice.
Yep. Notification. Father's Day was created by. Good. Yeah, nice. So perfect. So more notifications we want to see in the channel. And I want to remind everybody that you can mute channels in Slack, because when everybody starts sending notifications, that channel will be crazy. So just mute it. That's probably what you should do. Do we have anything else?
Don't think so.
There are some, Niklas, that has problems with Minikube scaffold locally in the first assignment. The first local Kubernetes. We'll need to sort that out. I know for a fact it's a Linux and a Windows machine, so it's not just isolated to Windows. I can ask Niklas, do you know, because when you run Minikube tunnel on Minikube tunnel on Windows, you get a message saying something about that privileged ports are blah 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 problematic. Is that a problem, or will it just work?
It just worked for me, at least. So I didn't look at it further.
No, but there is a link, so read up on the link that is provided. So on Mac OS, I got the same problem. It says that you are trying to connect to a privileged port, since port 80 is privileged. But then I just had to confirm that it was okay that that Minikube uses port 80, and then it works.
And I had problems with port 80 also, because I had an application hogging port 80, and you just disable that application. So you can change port. You don't need to use port 80 like in my example. You can use some other port if you want to. It doesn't really matter.
That could actually be a good first step in trying to just change to something above. I don't know, what is the range? Is it?
Some 8,000, 80 or something like that.
Yes,
like
6,000 or something like that.
Yeah. So try that out first.
Yep. Other than that, we will need to just work on it together. I have sometime this afternoon, actually. Not we have other things before lunch, but after lunch I have some time. So if someone needs help, just hook me up on GitLab. I need to work on a problem that Leopold has as well. So he was next in line after Sophia yesterday. So yes, that's it, I think. Nothing more to add? No questions? Then I've...
No chat or anything?
No, it's quiet. It's only 4 watching, so...
Yeah.
The other ones will probably watch this later on, so then you can't ask questions.
Yeah.
Well, see you around, and looking forward to presenting the project next week.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.